Wow. Oh yeah, this has to be it. It keeps going. I think I might need a second before I describe this to you. It's kind of a lot to take in. Hello, and welcome back to a new year of Camp Nowhere. I wanted to do something special for this first episode back, and turns out trying to do something special has been quite an ordeal this morning. I wanted to take you on a hike with us, and we have been camped for the last 2-3 days, just a few miles from the trailhead, and we drove that last little bit this morning to get to the trailhead, only to be turned around by a sign saying that we couldn't get there from where we were. So we turned around, we drove, I feel like we've been driving for almost an hour, only to realize exactly where we were is the closest you can get to the trailhead at this time of year. We've really gotten to know the back roads of Colorado National Monument trying to get to Meat Canyon, but I think that we're finally hot on the trail of the trail. That's nice. That's the sound of brush scraping its way aggressively down our camper. 2 hours later, we are finally starting the hike, and guess what? It's from right where we turned around the first time. That's okay, getting a later start, but we've got about 0.8 miles to walk to access the original trailhead. We're up above Fruita, Colorado, and it seems like a lot of these roads shut down for large portions of the year because of the winter access. Something tells me these roads get nasty when they get wet. All right, we are officially on trail. I've taken precisely 3 steps, and I've already found what looks to be the lower half of a dead snake. That's a good sign. We're definitely in the desert. So we are up here on a high plateau, kind of overlooking a larger valley down below. And this landscape, I would say, is pretty dominated by pinyon trees and open sage fields. I don't know what it is about the fall, but ever since we have been living on the road, for whatever reason, the desert just calls to us in the fall. I think it's because the days are still relatively dry, still relatively warm, and allows for us to kind of go out and do some of these longer day hikes. But right now, this hike that we're doing in particular is Meat Canyon. Looks like it'll be about 3 miles each way, so 6 total, but then you got to add the 0.8 to get to the trailhead. So we'll see what it is when we're all said and done. The beginning of this trail, we seem to be walking down maybe a really old, deteriorated ranching road up on this plateau, because we have now seemingly traversed it in its entirety. There are a lot of old ranching roads that have been shut down to rewild, which I think is really cool, but also definitely contributed to our confusion in how to get here, because a lot of the alternative routes that we turned around to try are all permanently closed for rewilding purposes, but eventually we got it figured out. But we've got just the most crazy sweeping views looking down into all of these different kaibab sandstone, which is that kind of like, looks like a petrified sand dune, and it is actually exactly what it is, off in the distance. And I believe we're losing a bunch of elevation, so we're going to drop down into one of these canyons, because ultimately I think we're going to have about 1,500 feet of elevation gain by the time we are done today. As we're coming down the trail here, just past this really steep sloped hill on our left-hand side, and it's made up, it's like a badland, but it's a badland that's kind of mixed in with all of the sage and pinyons. And I think that what's so interesting is over time we've come to realize that landscape features that you think only exist, for instance, in like Badlands National Park in South Dakota, that those kinds of features actually repeat themselves often in very different places and in very different combinations of landscapes. For instance, you can find Badlands in Oregon, you can find Badlands in Utah, and we're here in Colorado, so you can find Badlands here. And I think that that's kind of a cool thought. It kind of takes you back to wanting to understand how they were formed, because then it will give you an understanding of kind of the history of the landscape that you're in, even if it's not existing in as much abundance as it does elsewhere. I have intentionally not told you where we are headed, and the reason why we tried with so much gusto to get to this trailhead today. And don't worry, I will obviously be sharing that once we get there. But laid out in front of us is this incredibly long serpentine canyon, and we can see one whole white sandstone wall on the far side of the canyon from where we're at, from this approach angle. And oh my gosh, there are just alcoves in every twist and turn of that canyon. Really reminiscent of some of the canyons that we've explored around the Natural Bridges area, as well as Bears Ears, and that's in Utah. If you are not familiar with those zones, pardon my French, holy shit, there's a lot of cool stuff back there. And what is so interesting is I don't feel like that Colorado is known for this kind of terrain. I think they're known more for their, 14ers, their large mountains, which are great, but being the suckers that we are for the desert, I think that what is always so exciting is to see a landscape that's reminiscent of Moab almost here in Colorado. And I will let you in on a little secret. So Colorado is broken into 3 parts according to us. Part 1, the Kansas part. So that's leading up to the Front Range. I'm sure you're familiar. The second part is the Colorado part of Colorado. And then the third part is the Utah part of Colorado. And obviously we're in the Utah part, because that's what it looks like. As we're descending in elevation, the plant life seems to be changing a fair bit. The pinyon pines are getting a lot more spread out. There's a lot more space between them. And there's some little yucca / agave type plants that are mixed in, and a bunch of cactus, really small prickly pear varieties. I really need to get better actually about knowing actual names. I love to address my nature friends by name if I can. Oh yeah, there's a good cactus there. It's really cool though to see not only like topography change as you're hiking through it. It's always something I really enjoy, but also seeing the plant life respond to that change as well. Definitely seems like it's a lot more arid. Seems to maybe receive a little bit more moisture over down yonder. The trail has changed once again. We are now walking on a single track that is kind of following a shelf. And the part of the shelf that we're walking on is definitely made of Badland style mud rock combo. This stuff is wild when it gets wet. I don't know if you've ever been in a landscape that's made up of that same style of dirt, but when it gets wet, it just stacks. We call it stacking mud. If you're trying to walk in it when it's wet, it'll just stack up under your shoes And by the time you've gone like 5, 10, 15 feet, you got platform shoes on, made of mud. But we just passed this really crazy spot. It looks like a sinkhole of some variety. Really interesting. Yeah, baby. Canyon's coming into view. We are walking through an area that has, I feel like, one of the coolest and easiest to overlook things that I would say heavily populates the desert, and that is cryptobiotic soil. Some people call it crypto for short, but now I think that would cause some confusion. We also call it crust. But what it is bacteria that lives in the sand, and it holds the sand together as a unit. So it is one of a few primary things that actually prevent sand, soft dirt from washing out and erosion in the desert. And what is so cool about the cryptobiotic soil is that organism that's living in there can live for a very long time. And to describe it to you, it kind of almost looks like moldiness that is kind of growing on the top of sand or dirt in really arid environments. And when I say it can live to be old, I'm not entirely sure off the top of my head how old it can be, but I do know that some places that we've hiked through, it can be upwards of 100 years old. And when you step on it, it does kind of break it apart, and so it no longer can do its job of preventing erosion, which is why it's really important to stay on trail in desert environments, because they're actually surprisingly fragile. Because next time it rains, if somebody cuts through crypto, that is now a reentrant for water to very easily rip through that area. Okay, we've come to a fork in a road. Trying to figure out which direction we're going. I think it looks like this. I think I see oh yeah, the trail's down below us. Yeah. All right, cool. So we got some switchbacks here. We are leaving our shelf and we're finally going down into the canyon. Some of the rocks that have slid down this embankment from the shelf that we were on, I think that this is so cool. You can see the ripples in the ancient sand, kind of like when you go into a tide pool, you can kind of see that wave-like texture on the bottom of the sand. In a lot of places in the desert, you can actually see that petrified into the rock, still existing to this day. And what's wild is sometimes it'll be on a cliff wall, horizontal, so perpendicular to the orientation when the sand was actually formed into those little ripples. Isn't nature just so neat? So we are about to drop fully into the canyon now that we've come off that shelf. And wow, just all of a sudden we're on the edge of the canyon. It is very, very deep, and we're kind of standing at the edge. Pardon my layman descriptive term, this almost looks like a massive toilet bowl that we're going to drop down into. I'm not entirely sure how we're going to get down there. Something tells me we just haven't gotten to that point yet, but wow, this is crazy. It's undercut into everything. Definitely water has carved this, no question. Okay, so I have traversed the edge of our little toilet bowl, and I have found where we're gonna go down. There's a couple of cairns here, and I think that what is so fun about hiking specifically into canyons in the desert is it does kind of often require some scrambly climbing elements, and I just really enjoy the full body physicality of a hike into a canyon. So we're about to drop down here. I can only really see over this first ledge here, but I'm sure we'll be able to figure it out once we get down a little bit further. Oh yeah. Ooh, dropping down some big ledges. So yeah, sometimes this type of hiking isn't exactly for the faint of heart, but certainly can get your adventure in on a Wednesday. It's always nice. Okay, coming around this first ledge here, trying to see where we're going. Oh, cool. Okay, so I still don't know where we're going, but I do see something really interesting ahead. Okay, wow. What? Okay, this is like a baby cave. Oh, and there's a ladder down here. Yeah, I know. Do you see it? So I'm gonna drop down here. Yeah. Okay, so as mentioned, there's a ladder here, but to get to the ladder, you have to go through this. I mean, it's an arch, but it's also a cave. It's quite small, very sandy. Wow, the sandstone is so soft in here. There's just pools of sand on the bottom. I'm sure the wind and the rain just like whip up in here and kind of erode all of this, but it looks like it's just balancing on this most delicate, tiny little attachment point on one side. But otherwise, it's just this mixture of a cave and an arch. And I will say, to go with this episode of the podcast, I will have a blog post that'll have some photos of all of this, just because it's so cool. You do have to see it. Also, the visualizer, of which we are taking video clips along the way, the visualizer on YouTube will also give you a taste of what all of this looks like. But dang, this is so cool. I'm so glad we were persistent, and because there was the moment there where we really decided, we were making the decision of like, was this trail really worth it? I feel like it is. I already feel like it is. So I'm glad that we decided to come back for it. All right, so Owen is going to be the first person to go down this ladder, and he just posed a really good question. Yeah, how strong you think that thing is? It is standing straight upright, Owen, but it's buried in the sand down there. It looks stable.
Yeah.
There you go. He's making his way down. The tough part is transitioning from being like faced out to facing the ladder, but Owen has flawlessly executed the dismount. Nice job.
Thank you.
Okay, now it's my turn to go through the cave and down the ladder. Oh yeah, this transition is a little unnerving. It's not too bad though. Yeah, using the rocks is helpful as well. Wow, that is so cool. Somebody did a good job with that ladder. That thing is sturdy. Also, what a stylish way to enter our canyon. Wow, this is a cool little alcove too. All right, we've done it. On to the next obstacle. Oh, I think that's a coyote poop. Okay, we're not that much further down the hill from where I last left you, and I'm trying to figure out how to describe what I'm looking at. So the side of the wall, canyon wall, is eroding, but it looks like... Oh, and how would you describe this? Yeah, it's kind of tough. So it's eroding, and there's like little arches, but they're like handlebars on the wall almost. And so there's that kind of thing, but it almost looks like a beehive built in horizontally. Just all of these little pockets, but it's completely open behind some of them. I mean, it's just absolutely bizarre. We see this from time to time, and I'm pretty sure it is just from water coming down the hill or down the edge of the canyon wall, but it looks like aliens made this. Fascinating. We just made it down to a really large wash. A wash is the way that a water kind of comes through a canyon. And there's a really big cairn down here, so feeling more confident now. Oh, wow. There's mud that the way it dries in these washes, it makes these big plates and then they curl up on each other, and it makes the most satisfying sound to step on. So here's what that sounds like. Bet you weren't expecting ASMR from this hike. Okay, we have determined that we're on a trail, but I don't think it's the right one. So we're currently traversing kind of a sketchy section of cliffline to try to get back over in the direction that we're supposed to be in. Oh, I'm admitting so many things right now. We also didn't save the map offline before coming to do this, so we're just kind of looking at a topographic map and where we know the cape to be and using that to kind of get ourselves in the right direction. So I'll check back in. Sorry, I just had to jump down a ledge. As soon as we get ourselves sorted out, I'll confirm that we're not dying out here. Oh boy.
Of course.
So
we just like locked off right here.
Okay, you're gonna be good?
I think so.
All right.
Never tried this before.
Yeah, okay, so to describe what Owen's doing, we're at this like little alcove. We're trying to go up the slick rock so we don't come in contact with any of the crypto. Owen is gonna give me a boost. He's got his fingers interlocked. I'm gonna put my foot in his hand. I'm gonna try to step up on this high ledge. Okay, 1, 2. Nice job. Okay, and I can give you a hand and pull you up.
I think if you just hold the camera,
Okay.
maybe I can.
It's high. No offense, I'm more flexible than you are, and I couldn't get my leg up on that ledge.
Yeah, but I don't think pulling me up is gonna be the answer either.
Yeah.
Because I'm liable to pull you all the way down.
I'm strong, Owen. Here, give me this hand. There you go. Okay, 1, 2. There you go. There you go. Wow, really good.
Sorry I doubted you.
Told you I'm strong. Pull your ass up this mountain. So this section is definitely overgrown, but it's short-lived.
Probably take it up here.
You think if we went high, we can skirt around it behind this tree?
Possibly.
Okay. We're already looking ahead at our travel plans for next year. Scary that next year is already so close, but thinking ahead to our next adventures is an incredibly exciting process. Next year, we're going big and checking off our #1 bucket list destination in the form of a group trip. In July 2026, we're heading to Namibia. Think climbing epic sand dunes, hiking to the iconic mud pans, and seeing wildlife on not 1, not 2, but 3 safaris. We'll be exploring ancient rock art, getting to know a new culture, and camping underneath the incredible desert skies. These trips are always life-changing, not just because of the places that we go, but because of the people that we share those experiences with. We'll handle all the logistics. All you need to do is show up ready for an incredible adventure. Space is limited, so check out all of the details via the link in the show notes. Grab your spot, and let's make Namibia unforgettable. We're back on trail. We found it. We were on the full opposite side of the canyon from where that re-entrant was. And while we were trying to get ourselves back here, we did have a little bit of a realization. And, I would say that's something that I would tell somebody that I'm good at is hiking. We've developed kind of a unique skill set. Very capable, very comfortable with climbing, but we make a lot of silly mistakes sometimes, and I feel like a lot of our education on how to conduct ourselves has come from having to get creative after making a silly mistake. So here we are. All right, hoping that we can now make some legitimate progress towards our destination here. Ooh, just found my favorite thing, a pile of bones. No idea what this is, huh? They look big though. There's a lot of rib bones. This is honestly probably a cow that got lost. I feel like the only other thing of this size would be a mountain lion, but that feels like highly improbable.
I think it's probably a bighorn sheep.
Oh, bighorn sheep. I forgot they're back here.
Yeah, there's a hoof over here.
Oh, there's a hoof. Oh my gosh, Owen just found a hoof. Definitely bighorn. Way to get to the bottom of it, Owen. Oh yeah, sure enough. Definitely bighorn sheep. Not a small one either. Yeah, I always just think it's really interesting when you find bones of animals that you otherwise would have a really hard time getting close to. I feel like it's a really good way to learn about them, just so you can observe them at a closer range otherwise. This certainly looks like where a bighorn sheep would live. Wow, okay, so we're now have intersected the main canyon, and it's probably another 500-600 feet down below us to the base of that canyon, but we're kind of traversing the cliff's edge here. At the base of these really awesome sandstone towers, classic coloring with the cream mixed in with the red and the orange. This is like kind of some like low-grade climbing we got going here.
Yeah, I see the trail.
Oh, you see this seems right. There's Karen's leading all the way up here.
Yeah, it just seems like a weird thing.
I think you might just have to take your backpack off. So we've reached this. Okay, it's like 100 feet down on one side of us. It's sheer up on the other side, but we've got this really small little keyhole that punches through. And so small that I think that we're gonna have to take our backpacks off and just kind of scamper our way through. I can hand you your backpack through. That's a tight fit. Nice job. Oh, and once again has flawlessly executed the chute. I was just saying earlier how much I enjoy hikes that require you to get creative with your body. Dismount. Wow. That was really cool. Look at all the layers. Oh my gosh, that make up this hole. It's like the flakiest biscuits you've ever seen. Really cool. This is more than I thought we were signing up for, and I'm perfectly okay with that. So I think that something that is so interesting about canyons is they're so inhospitable seemingly on the edges, but then when you get down or look down into the canyon, there's usually, seasonal streams that run through them, and often they're so lush with cottonwood trees, and that is very much the case for this canyon that we're heading down into, getting our first real glimpse of it. But what's so cool about this time of year is that the cottonwoods turn yellow, kind of much like an aspen would. And it's so pretty up against the red rock. We're only starting to get very early turning of yellow, but it's just so cool. So harsh on the walls of the canyon. You get down in, and it's a little oasis down there, completely different ecosystem at the bottom. We have finally made it to the bottom of the canyon, and as foretold, it is a very different world down here, very lush. And obviously canyons are created by this area trying to get water out, but my God, it looks like this area has seen a lot of water recently, maybe not immediately, but this year. So we're walking through really tight comically tight brush. A lot of these, I forget what they're called, horsetails, kind of a ow. I just battle rammed a branch with my head. But they're kind of when you see people paint pictures of dinosaurs, they're along the water, segmented, kind of have these really interesting like root type branches that come out of the top of it in rings. But yeah, all of the plant life around the low point is just completely laid flat from how, I mean, actually I can see water line on the edge of the cliff, and yeah, scary amount of water coming through here. So this canyon that we're in looks like it's towering maybe 1,000 feet up from us. I think what I love about these canyons most is all the texture. They're kind of a combination of the cream, but with that dark red umber. Wow, okay. I'm on a sandy high spot in the canyon. I don't know if you can hear. Hello! It echoes kind of a lot. Look at how, this is so, it's so undercut. The water, when it moves through here, it's just cut the underside of this canyon. But there's just so much texture on the canyon walls. Stains from iron oxide. Oh, there is still water coming through here. Wow, I'm really surprised by that. It's so late in the year. Yeah. The force that the water must move through here is unreal. Everything is just folded down. I have walked underneath the alcove. There's a lot of water, a lot of standing water under here. It's so humid. Hello. Hello. Hi. Ooh. Because this bottom portion of the trail in the canyon, because this canyon has seen so much water, the debris is really built up down here. So this is like final stretch of the trail to our destination has really turned into quite the bushwhack. Sometimes it just be that way, you know? So we could potentially be here. I'm not gonna say it yet. Wow. Oh yeah, this has to be it. It's oh, it keeps going. Oh my gosh, somebody's camped back here. This is a sick spot. This is it, yeah? This is it. Okay. Without further ado, we have gotten to Colorado's largest alcove, and it has just been carved out by the water. Oh my gosh, okay. I think I might need a second before I describe this to you. It's kind of a lot to take in. Here goes nothing at my feeble attempt to describe the majesty in which I am currently laying my eyes on. So we have been walking down the canyon. As canyons do, they make a great deal of twists and turns. And the canyon took about a 90-degree turn into what looked like the opening of a cave. And so technically speaking, this isn't a cave, it's an alcove, because it is just dug out by the water. But it's kind of in the shape of Horseshoe Bend, where it's doubling back on itself. And there's this, it's so deeply carved out that the island in the middle, gosh, this has to be 150 feet tall, that just goes straight up. I mean, there's trees and stuff growing on top of it out more in the open part of the canyon, but this finger points right into the alcove. Gosh, this is so deep. I don't know, what is this? 100 plus meters deep? 200 meters deep? I'm completely, obviously, flip-flopping between meters and feet here. But it's also just so cavernous and so tall. And it's clear that the roof caves in often because there's just big boulder piles on the finger of land that's pointing into the alcove. And then there's big rock piles in the bottom of the canyon. But I don't know if you can hear, the sound is echoing in here. And I saw a picture of this place not all that long ago, and it looks very different in here just because of how much water has come through here. And in fact, there's still a great deal of water at the bottom of the canyon going through the alcove. We haven't walked it yet because in order to get, you have to go around this little island of land here in the middle. I would like to walk it. It looks very muddy down there, and a lot of this mud has been so slick. But I could not imagine the sound of the water moving through here. I just think it was probably deafening. But it's humid. It's quiet aside from a few crickets, actually, that I've been hearing. I mean, it almost is giving the illusion that we're slipping into night in here. Wow. This was definitely worth the absolute slog it took to get here. I am slowly traversing my way in. I'm doing it slowly because it's a mixture of water, sand, and the slickest mud. Oh! I almost just slipped. Oh my gosh. Oh, it's so sticky. Wow. But I wanted to get back here to the back of this canyon, take a picture looking out, because this is quite the view. Wow. All right, let's see. Yeah, I like the view looking out because the red color of the sandstone. So like even though, okay, so this is really nerdy photography stuff. So in the winter / fall, the temperature of the light drastically changes. So it's much colder now. I personally am not a fan. I really love my images to be warm, but I think that what's so cool is when you're in a sandstone alcove like this, because the sandstone is so orangey red, when the light comes in here, it's such a warm orange space. And so is the light in it, and it's really quite miraculous. So I'm here at the back of the alcove, and it is, wow, there's so much rubble. It's kind of hard. It's not exactly clear how I'm gonna get fully around here. Okay, this is like almost guaranteed to be super slippery mud down here. I've opted for the mud instead of the higher route through the rubble. And all this stuff has just fallen over from the ceiling over the years. But yeah, wow, what a space. What a space. I just feel like Mother Nature is the best architect and artist in the game. You think you're doing anything interesting? Go outside. Something has been made that is far better, purely by nature, doing its thing. You know, I'm pretty sure I could spend so much more time here. In fact, it would be really awesome to camp at the opening of this alcove, but unfortunately, we're getting a little late on in the day and need to make our way 1,600 feet back up and out of here, and should probably allot for some time to get lost. But you know, I think that these places are so special because you will always be left wishing that you could spend more time with them. Because our time together is so fleeting, makes you really savor it. Thank you so much for listening. We'll see you next time on Camp Nowhere. Hi, Boo. How are you? I missed you. We saw all sorts of things while we were gone. I'm sorry that you had to stay behind. But we'll go to camp. We'll go to camp and we can run around.